Welcome back to another dev diary for Pitchfork here on Three Skulls Tavern. I'm Matt, your host, and if you're watching this one, you've probably watched the previous 10. But if not, yeah, I'm developing a game called Pitchfork, which I've got up on the screen right now. Influenced by what was originally a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay hack using the Year Zero engine, and it has kind of evolved since then into various things, and the final iteration, which I'm getting very close to finishing now, is what I've got here. It's basically, think of it like someone described it as a peasant simulator. Basically, you play commoners in a rural village, and that's what the gameplay is all about. So it's kind of a little bit like Call of Cthulhu in some respects, minus the mythos. Just in that investigation horror will be a pretty big part of it, and the aspect of playing normal people and not heroes as well. The setting is kind of not Europe, so like an alt history Europe, around about the well, this is another thing I need to put my finger on. Hey Tony. And that is exactly when I'm going to set it, but I'll talk about that in another episode. I'm currently looking at setting it around the 15th or 16th century, so fairly late compared to, well, late Middle Ages, I should say. But yeah, so today I'm talking about Doom, and Doom is something I've wanted to put in this game right from the beginning. I like the idea of Doom a lot, or Darkness Points, as it's called here in Coriolis, and I'm going to be taking a lot of cues from Coriolis because I really like this game. And it's a Year Zero engine game. This is a Year Zero engine game, so as close as I can keep it to mechanically other Year Zero engine games, the better, in my opinion. Although I will try and evolve Darkness Points a little bit. The first thing I'm doing is I'm not calling them Darkness Points, I'm calling them Doom. May end up calling that something different. Doom has... Well, Darkness Points specifically are called that in Coriolis because there's this element of the setting called the darkness between the stars, and that makes sense in a sci-fi setting, and therefore it's Darkness Points. There's something about that darkness between the stars that's kind of screwing around with the players. Pitchfork doesn't really have that sort of thing, but it is... The idea of this is that it's kind of like a yin-yang, like a fate Doom sort of mechanic. So Doom kind of fits quite nicely, and the idea here is that when the players do certain things, they are causing this sort of build-up of cosmic don't want to call it cosmic energy, but there's this sort of like this yin-yang concept that the more you push your luck, the more you're taking from the universe to benefit yourself, the more the universe is going to slap you back later. So everything has a consequence. Yeah, yin-yang, that sort of thing. So the GM will build up Darkness Points, or Doom as I'm going to be calling it here, whenever players re-roll the dice. So if you re-roll the dice, a Doom point is given to the GM. This is exactly how Coriolis works with that. Coriolis also has Darkness Points gathered. Anyway, the GM also collects Darkness Points when there's certain setting elements that trigger. For example, the players spend too long in the darkness between the stars, so they spend a lot of time out kind of between planets. Hey, Ed. Yeah. So that's kind of not a thing here with the kind of travel and stuff, but there is that element of it shouldn't just be about pushing. That's a little bit simplistic. So there need to be other things in the setting that can cause it. And one of the other things I came up with was this coup de grace rule from Forbidden Lands, which I really like and I've put in here, which is that whenever you want to kill someone in cold blood, you have to make an insight roll. I'm just going to pull this up actually to see exactly how I implemented it. You have to fail an insight roll. Even if the roll fails, you suffer 1 point of stability loss and the GM gains 1 point of doom. Killing in cold blood is not as easy as you might think. So the idea here is if you succeed at your insight roll, you can't kill the person. You're too empathic. But if you do fail the roll, you're able to kill them. But the result of that is you take some stability loss, so it kind of affects your mind. And I'm also going to be giving a doom point to the GM as well. So that's the only other way at the moment I've got doom being collected by the GM. Now, I'm not really planning to put a lot of extra... where am I? There may be one or two other places I might think about introducing it. Might kind of get into that today. But at the moment, I'm kind of happy with those two elements to start off with, at least for the playtesting, with the proviso that later on I might be introducing more, more elements around Doom. So that's the concept of how I want it to work, or at least how it's collected by the GM, how this Doom, this pile of kind of meta currency points build up for the GM to be able to use later. So how do they use them? This is where I've got this kind of yellow box here, and this is where I want to spend a little bit of time thinking about how the GM can use this, because I've basically fleshed out a lot of the combat systems, the chase systems, etc., the skill testing. So there should be... Excuse me, I was up quite early, and I was doing a lot of manual labor at work today, moving tables and chairs around and stuff. So I apologize. I'm yawning a little bit more than usual. So yeah, I should be able to figure out how Doom can interact with the rules. This is why I wanted to leave Doom until I'd kind of fleshed out the rules a little bit more, because I want there to be a good connection between them. So yeah. Okay, so the first thing to look at is I'm going to be dipping into Coriolis for some inspiration. I've got Coriolis open here. In fact, here it's showing when the GM receives darkness points, when any of these things happen, right? The PCs perform a portal jump without being in stasis, 3 darkness points. That's not something I can port over. A PC suffers bad stasis after a portal jump. Can't really do that. A PC prays to the icons for a reroll, so that's going to be something that's in here. So rerolling is going to be resulting in Doom. A PC activates a mystic power. I'm not using any magic, so that doesn't really apply. And the PCs travel far out into the big black, 1 to 3. So, yeah. You can see here that there are 5 ways that the GM can accumulate darkness points in Coriolis. I've only got 2 at the moment, coup de grace and re-rolling. So there is potential. It might be worth thinking about to keep it as a mechanic which builds up and has serious implications for the players. There needs to be more than just a kind of a couple of opportunities for the GM to use them. That said, I'm fairly happy with basically just having those. So avoiding crits. Ooh, no, I don't think so. You mentioned Conan. You can probably see here at the top here, I've got Conan open. I kickstarted Conan, so I'm familiar with how Doom works in this. I've got it open to the page. Yeah, so I'm actually calling it Doom, which is what it's also called in Conan. And there's a lot in here on how it's used. So things like you get immediate momentum, which isn't really a thing here. Complications are definitely a thing, so narrative complications are definitely going to be added in there. I guess the question from my perspective is, at what level do I want to kind of define that? And really, I like it when it's a bit more open to the GM to just basically say, yeah, this complication is a little bit more serious, so I'm gonna be spending a couple more, Doom points. Coriolis actually defines a lot of them, so they're well defined. Situations where you can spend them. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how I want to go with that. So complications are definitely something I'm going to be doing. A player character attempting a reaction adds Doom to the pool. Now that's interesting, right? So I could say that I've got combat as an opposed roll. I could take that out and say you get one free defense as like a reaction. No. At the moment, I'm kind of happy with it just being it's an opposed roll every time an attack is happening. It's not necessarily going the simulationist route, but I kind of like the implications that has of keeping the rules a little bit more lightweight. So I'm a bit reluctant to kind of follow that line of thought. Voluntary failure. By choosing to fail a task, the player pays the Game Master 1 Doom and gains a fortune point. Now, threatening circumstances. The environment or circumstances of a new scene may be threatening enough to warrant. Yep, that's definitely something that's going to be happening. And non-player character momentum. So, initiative and combat are some areas where it will be able to be spent as well. So we'll get to that. One thing I really like with Doom in terms of spending Doom is this. I'm not doing it the same way, but basically, initiative in Conan is that the players always go before the enemies, and for the enemies to go first, the GM has to spend Doom to make that happen, and I really like that. It's quite elegant. Yeah. Hi, Sai. Rawr. Yeah. So this is a good framework. I mean, Conan and Coriolis have a lot of similarities in how they're used. They're obviously tailored to their games a little bit differently because there are things like momentum and fortune points in Conan that interact with Doom. Coriolis only has Doom as a meta currency, nothing else, so it's a little bit more simplistic. And again, just being a Year Zero game, I'm kind of using Coriolis as the foundation of what I'm going to be basing it on. So, how to use darkness points. We've got a big table here. Look at this. This is quite a lot here in Coriolis. I'm going to highlight this, and no, I'm not going to highlight this. I'm just going to move this to my other screen. Sorry. Hey, Rotters. Speaking of Conan, here's my Conan expert. All right. Yeah, success at a cost. So that's basically the players fail a roll, the GM can allow them to succeed, and the cost is, yeah, he gets. Yes, I shouldn't say he. The GM gets a darkness point. Sorry, a point of doom. The players are allowed to have a limited success. I probably wouldn't call it success at a cost because the cost is kind of the doom point. Which would be coming back and biting them in the arse later, if not immediately. But it would be a limited success, I think is how we would call it. So you succeed, but in a limited way, so not fully. I like that. Characters engaging in corrupting behavior. Yeah, corruption is an interesting one I'm going to think about, and I think this is where darkness or doom really come into play with corruption. And I'd originally been thinking of corruption as being a sort of radiation track, which I might still do, but I don't think I'm going to be putting it in this initial playtest just yet. So you mentioned corrupting behavior, and I've already talked about doing coup de grace, that doing so would generate darkness. So I kind of taking that concept and putting it a little bit further, taking it a little bit further forward. Yeah, corrupting behavior kind of fits with that. So that's something to think about. Yeah, okay. So, what can the GM do? So, then, in fact, let's take this back a step. Doom can be saved between sessions, no cap on how many a GM can collect. I need a section on this, actually. I think. I've got it right here in the skill section. It probably should be. Yeah, okay, alright. I'm going to just put in here, collecting Doom. I'm just going to put a section for Doom, in fact. Okay. So, the GM starts the first session with 1 Doom point for each player. Life's not fair for commoners. In the Middle Ages, after all. Alright. Other ways a GM can collect DP. Right, Ed. Thanks for popping around. Have a good evening. By the way, Ed, if you're still there, I need to talk to you about some rabbit stuff sometime. Maybe this weekend. Probably missed you. Okay. So, other ways a GM can collect collect DP. Do I want to start calling it DP? Yeah, why not? One point of doom. 1 doom point. DP. I'll call it doom and doom points. Doom points. Going back and forth between calling it doom and DP. Fuck it. Who cares? All good. Let's give something for the proofreaders to get excited about. Ah! You're using the terms differently, different places. The GM DP'd us. Alright, what do we say here? So, other than re-rolling the coup de grace, success, flipping a failure to a limited success. Where do I want to put that in fact? Rolling dice, building the pool. 6 means success. See, this doesn't actually work too well, this flipping a failure to be a limited success, because of the difficulty. I guess it would only work on a normal difficulty. Actually, it could cost 1 DP per success required, so you could buy successes with it, but then the ultimate success you get always is limited, or something along those lines. That feels a little bit powerful. Doom points represent a form of karma. Doom points represent the world reacting. What did I put in? I'm gonna start looking at what I put in my other games. Year Zero Mini. What did I put in there for that? Let's have a look. Huh, okay. I didn't really put a lot of fluff behind it. Then I'll do the same here for now, for the playtest document. Doom points represent... Doom points are a form of karma. They are a meta currency that the GM can spend to add complications to the PC's lives. The GM starts the first session with 1 DP for each player. The GM starts the first session with 1 DP for each player. Life's not fair for commoners in the Middle Ages after all. In addition to re-rolling, the GM also collects the 1 DP whenever PCs perform a coup de grace. Spending Doom. To perform any of the following actions, the GM must spend the corresponding number of DP. Alright. What have we got in Coriolis? Let's flash up Coriolis. Yeah. Rerolling. Just like the PCs can. I wonder how much text I want to put in here actually. NPC rerolls. That's just simple, isn't it? 1 darkness point. So breaking initiative or faffing around with initiative is something that both Coriolis and Conan do with Doom and Darkness points. It'd be kind of interesting because it kind of makes sense there where you've got this normal initiative order and or you have rules for how initiative works and then something it doesn't act according to how it should because of these darkness points. So this is like the universe reacting to the the karma that's been building up against the players. So, initiative. NPCs act. NPC acts. I want to say outside of initiative. Before players roll for initiative. There we go. I guess it costs 2 darkness points. I haven't thought about ranged weapons. This isn't really a combat heavy game, so a clip runs empty in Coriolis when you can spend a darkness point to have a player's ammo clip run dry, or have a weapon jam, or have a broken system, or have a ship problem. Ooh. Overload, reaction. NPCs cannot perform reactions in combat unless the GM spends a darkness point. That's interesting. I kind of like that. NPCs perform reactions in combat. Maybe. I'm not sure about that one. I'll highlight that one for now. Come back to it. Oh, that's a good one. PC has lost a possession they thought they had. Reinforcements. Innocent in danger. An innocent bystander suddenly caught in the line of fire. I like that. A PC's problem affects them as the GM chooses. An environmental complication affects the PCs. 1 to 3 DP. Near there. Dark Mind. A PC is suddenly stricken with a temporary dark mania. The power... Nope. Power of the darkness. Certain talents or abilities can be... Okay. Activated NPCs are... Okay, so monsters... some monster abilities require... activating certain... monster abilities. The reroll for NPC also in Coriolis. Yes, it is. Yep. Reloading. That's not really a thing. Okay, so that's basically how I would take Coriolis and stick it in here. The only thing I'm not so sure about is the reactions, but I haven't really defined reactions in my conflict system, my combat system anyway. If you look here at actions and maneuvers, on your turn you can perform one action, one maneuver, or two maneuvers, blah 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 blah. Now I got that, I'm basically using Mute Your Zeros because it's kind of a simplistic system, which I quite like. I'm just kind of curious about how they did. They don't really talk about reactions or free actions or anything like that. So I wonder if I should just take that out. Yeah, it's adding a level of simulationism that I don't think I need. Like defining, like putting reactions into the combat, the full combat system. It's basically just an opposed roll, kind of like that, where if you're attacking, yep, an opposed roll where the defender cancels out the attacker's 6s with 6s of their own. And if you're... in fact, you can choose what you do with your 6s. So, yeah, this is the thing I really like. So if you roll... yeah, anyway, I've already talked about this in the comment video. So I don't see how I would necessarily add a lot necessarily to this here. The only thing I can think of is that this has got a very crazy death spiral, where you're rolling your vitality constantly. If you fail your vitality roll, you take an injury. So, there could be an argument for players being allowed to lose the vitality, but not take an injury by giving the GM darkness points. I think I'm going to leave that for now for the first playtest, though. Yeah. Where am I? Skills, doom points. So we're going to take this reaction off because I'm not doing reactions in this game. All right. So that's Coriolis. That's the first thing I wanted to look at, right? Oh, is it? No, looks like I'm still connected. Can anyone confirm if they can still see me? Okay. Worrying me a little bit. And now I've got Twitch running. This is going to be bad. That's really going to fuck up my connection. Alright. Oh yeah, just try refreshing, Tony. Oh, you can't hear me. Cool. I think Tony's been getting some fresh fiber optic connection being installed in his house. I'm not sure if it's happening now or if it's brand new or something. He's having some connection issues in our Twilight 2000 game as well. Anyway, yeah. So that's basically Coriolis. This is kind of what I really wanted. So I'm gonna look at Conan now and see if Conan's got anything that I can kind of glean. We've already looked at it a little bit, which is this bit here, which is gaining doom. So how the... oh, we've talked... hold on. Yeah, so we talked about this complication where a character suffers one or more complications on a skill test, and the game master may choose not to cause immediate complication in exchange for adding 2 to the doom pool. Now, I haven't got that level of granularity in terms of like how the dice system works. You're either rolling a 6 or you're not. There's no complication kind of added to that. But you could theoretically have... you could theoretically, as I said before, flip a failure. Well, I think we need to be limited a little bit. So you could kind of, I guess you could buy a single success. If I was going to do this, I would limit it to a single success. You could buy a single success for Point of Doom. But that success is very limited in its kind of scope, its scale, and its magnitude. So if you were trying to, it would always come at a cost, right? So in it, but I mean, this seems doubly harsh because it's kind of like you want to succeed, okay, you can succeed but at a massive cost. And the GM gets a darkness point. Actually, I kind of like that. Because you shouldn't have the opportunity to just succeed whenever you want. It should be a decision that's kind of full of implication. So I think I'm going to put that in here. I'm gonna put it here just before difficulty. I'm gonna say succeeding at cost. Success with complication. See, this also messes around with the pushing to re-roll element of it as well, because if most of the time people are going to be it's very German of me. I'm going to take it out because the year zero approach this is the re-roll, right? If you really want something to happen, you re-roll, and most of the time there's a cost associated with it. Vazen, for example, Tales from the Flood, you're immediately paying a complication for that to happen. Coriolis, and here you pay a doom point, which allows the GM to complicate your life. Yeah. And in fact, you could say you re-roll, you've succeeded your re-roll, but the GM got some doom. The GM could just spend that doom immediately to kind of fuck up whatever you just succeeded with. Like, you'd still succeed, but there'd be some complication that kind of happens as a result. And I kind of like that. I think that's fine. I think that's built in well enough into the core mechanic. Cool. So let's look back at Conan. This section I'm looking at Conan is the wrong one. This was all about gaining doom. And I want to talk about spending doom. So complications. I mean, this is pretty good, right? You've got 3 levels of complication. You've got a minor inconvenience, which is going to be 1 doom. You have a complication, which is 2 doom, or you have a serious complication, which is 4 or more. And how is that kind of covered here? We've got I don't think I would have 3 levels. I think if anything I'd have 2. I'd say for one doom you can have a minor inconvenience like a nuisance. In fact, I'm just going to put here the GM can also create other complications or nuisances at the GM's discretion. 1 to 3 DP. So I ran a game called, it didn't have a name, it was a game I was working on called, I keep saying called. It was the mouse game I played with my wife and my sister and my sister-in-law at Christmas time. And I put a form of darkness points in that. It was also a kind of a year zero engine game. And the one big place I spent that kind of I was calling them bad luck points, good and bad luck points, where they kind of flip over like the Destiny points in Star Wars. And they got to a place where they were crossing a road, and they were looking to see if there was a threat in the road. They couldn't see anything, and then they started to walk across this road. Bearing in mind they're normal like field mice. So the road is quite big, and I decided to spend 4 bad luck points, which they had been gathering by doing things to get like little advantages throughout the game up to that point. And I spent 4 of these to have a car come roaring down the road at them suddenly, and it nearly killed 2 of the 3 player characters, I should say. They didn't die though; they survived. But I felt like a really effective and good use of these darkness points, these bad luck points, because if I didn't have them, and if you're thinking of a game in a traditional sense without these meta currencies, it would very much feel like players, the GM was just being arbitrarily punishing to the players, where it's just like, oh, you just threw a car at us when we specifically said we wanted to see if a car was coming. You're being a dick. And yeah, you kind of, there's an argument to be made for that. That is the case. From a certain perspective, right? From a certain player's perspective. Really, it's the place of a GM to create obstacles for players to overcome, and therefore you shouldn't necessarily need to have these narrative tools. However, having used them first in Coriolis, and then I've done a tiny I've done one shot of Conan. It's not really enough, but definitely in Coriolis, I really like them. In my mouse game, I really like them. In Star Wars Edge of the Empire, they have destiny points, and they also operate in a similar way, the kind of the dark side points, or whatever they're called exactly. And basically what this means is the players have buy-in, the players have agency in that serious complication that's just happened, because they have been actively giving the GM darkness points, or doom, or whatever it's called. And therefore there's a little bit more of a buy-in, and the narrative kind of doesn't grind to a halt because you have these arguments creeping up with, oh, come on, you just nearly killed my character with that. Like, why the hell did you do that? This makes no sense to the story. It's like, well, no, actually, I can spend darkness points to have a sudden environmental complication happen. So you're climbing this mountainside. You're halfway up, and the cloud come rolling in, and it starts raining, and suddenly, like, every roll you're going to be making now is going to be at a higher difficulty level. That's quite punishing. Well, sure. Expend the darkness points or the doom points to make that happen. Mediocre Dad. It wasn't Mouse Guard. It wasn't Mouse Ritter. It was kind of like a Mouse Ritter hack. But it's a game I created myself. So I used Mouse Ritter had just come out like a month before, or at least I had only seen it a month before. I really liked the idea of it, but I wanted to do something with the Year Zero engine, so I kind of mashed Mouse Ritter and Year Zero Mini, which I've been writing, together and made this kind of bastard amalgamation thing. Anyway, I haven't released it to anyone, nobody's seen it, and it was basically, I think I'd written the rules on a scrap bit of paper, so it was like very, very basic. But yeah, they all had a blast, and it was pretty fun, very, very rules light. Anyway, so I'm kind of gone down a little bit of an explanatory rabbit hole, so I'll stop there. I think it's fine to say other complications at the GM's discretion. I probably need to put some GM advice down here, so if I go to the GM advice chapter, I'll say Doom complications. Complications that don't... No, just put complications. That's good enough. So that's going to be one topic I'll talk about later. By the way, I'm not planning on having any GM advice, or having very little GM advice in the playtesting guide. The first playtesting document, I should say. Really, the playtest document is for people to just kick the mechanics around a little bit, and then it'll be going through various iterations from there, and then I can slowly start building up on the GM advice. So other than just putting bullets in here as holding places for what's going to come later, yeah. Holding place for section, holding place. Alright, so I've got that from Conan with the complications. Other uses of Doom. Non-player character momentum. I've kind of got that with re-rolling. Non-player character re-rolling. Non-player character complications. You can remove complications. Again, I don't have them in this game. Reactions we're not using. NPC resources, reloads, poultices, parts, and other expendable resources used to boost the effect of a skill test are not tracked individually for NPCs. Instead, an NPC receives the benefit of a single unit of a resource by paying 1 Doom. Now that's interesting, but But again, it's a bit more appropriate for a kind of typical role-playing adventure, not so much the type of NPCs that are going to be interacting with villagers in their village in Pitchfork. So I think I'll leave that one off for now. Season initiative I've already got. Special abilities I've already got. Reinforcements doesn't really come into play here. Dramatic. So again, some of these will be more applicable later. For example, I'm planning on doing a mercenary expansion to Pitchfork down the line, and that one will involve things like reinforcements for sure. Using resources, things like that. Those will definitely be added to the kind of core rule set specifically for that one. But I don't want to add a huge list of shopping list of things that really aren't applicable to this game, because I want this game to be a pretty focused experience, and then just kind of add to it later on. Effects. What are these effects? Dramatic environments. We've already covered that as well. Dividing the group. The GM pays a number of Doom equal to the number of player characters in the larger of the two parts of the group. So if you've got 3 players and you're just splitting them, then you'd be paying two Doom. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's good enough. And then go to fortune. Okay. There's a kind of interesting little hazard table here, which I'm gonna ignore. Okay, so that's Conan. Cool. Year Zero Mini, I think I kind of left it pretty lightweight here. GM adding complications. And I've said bad luck points are a tool to allow the GM to significantly complicate things for the PCs. At any time, the GM can flip as many bad luck points as are available. The more spent, the more severe the complication. The cost of bad luck points is really hard to define in a generic framework such as this, as there are several factors at play, including how dark or light the setting is, how gritty or pulpy the game is, how well or badly things have been going for the players. That said, we can still provide some general feedback. I'm the one writing this. Sometimes I slip into the royal we. 1 Doom, we'll say, a minor complication, a plot twist or small setback. 2 to 3 Doom, a moderate complication, a significant bit of bad luck for the players. 4+ Doom, a major complication, something really bad happens. I mean, I can just basically stick that in. That's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not really much in the way of guidelines. It's just very, very general, and I think that's probably more than enough. Well, here we go. Just squeeze it in. Three plus. All right. Minor complication, a moderate complication, a major complication. Yep, that works. I can still provide some advice on how to do that, I guess. Depends how OSR-ish I want to make this game in terms of, not over-explaining certain things. Okay. Doom can be saved between sessions, and there's no cap to how many a GM can collect. I think I'm done with Doom. I think I don't really want to put too much more in the way there for playtesting. I think that's probably enough. Yeah. I mean, it really is. It should be pretty straightforward, right? Doom can be saved. It's not can be. Doom is saved. Doom is saved between sessions, and there's no cap. Cool. All right. That's one thing ticked off my list. So this is going to be a session all about Doom. It's an hour in, less than an hour in, and I've finished it. So I'm going to jump straight into the next thing I wanted to do tonight. I was thinking about doing tonight, which is putting a little bit more detail into the careers. Because at the moment, Charcoal Burner is an example here where I have kind of populated everything, but I've only done this to, I think, 3 of the currently 18 careers. And I'm currently not super happy. I'm just pulling this up here. These are the traits. So let me just make this a little bit more obvious what this is all about. Traits. So, I have 18 careers here. I have put a table in for careers. Yeah, we're going to keep going. We're definitely going to keep going. Right. I've now gone with a D66 career table where there is specific... So the first thing I try to do, if I show something very quickly, let's go to version history. Let's jump back to here, roughly. Maybe. Yeah. So this was what it originally looked like. 24, so there's a 12 in each column. You roll a d66, you get a result where you can choose from 2 different careers, right? And I quite like that idea. Basically what I did... So, let me back up for a second. I then started looking at all the different careers, and I started looking at, which 4 skills are key skills for each of those careers. And I've got this little matrix here. Let me just zoom in slightly for it, because I think you can probably see. Yeah, there we go. And I started seeing a lot of duplication in certain areas. For example, I didn't have artisan as a career. I had individual ones like a smith, a stone cutter, and a carpenter, and a miller, and other kind of artisanal occupations. And they were all taking very, very, very similar... they're taking very, very similar key skills. And I thought, you know what, why not just go the route of Wolfrup? Wolfrup has an artisan and I think a tradesman career, where it basically just assumes that you're picking a specific trade, and that is your trade. So I'm kind of handling it in the same way here. Artisan is a career, but you have to specify which one. So that's why it's in square brackets. You wouldn't write artisan on your character sheet. You would actually write the trade that you're, or your actual whatever it is that your trade is. But you still have these 4 skills as key skills regardless, and that's crafting naturally, manipulation, which is all about trying to persuade someone of something, or it's also used for haggling, which is important for artisans. Might, in fact, I've been thinking about this. I might actually put haggling as a separate, or negotiation as a separate skill, because I think in a rural countryside environment, that's quite an important skill to have. And I think I've already been splitting manipulation up a little bit, where I have a separate gossip skill, that it kind of makes sense to have haggle, or even, I don't know if I call it haggle or negotiation. Manipulation, negotiation kind of sound a little bit better, but gossip and haggle also sound good. So in fact, I will do that. I will do that right now. I'm going to add haggle in here. And we're going to do, straight away, we're going to take a point away from manipulation and put it over on haggle for the artisan. Who else is good at haggling? A peddler, for sure. A peddler is good at haggling. And they're good at gossiping, they're good at folklore, and they're good at inspiration and writing. I could take one off writing. There we go. So nothing's on writing. Why do I have writing in there? Interesting. So I'm going to put that in yellow. I've got writing in there because I want writing to be a skill separate from animal handling. Like, just because you know how, because you're a farmer or a shepherd or a kennel page where you've or a kennel maid where you've basically been looking after dogs, doesn't mean you should automatically know how to mount a horse and ride a horse effectively. Riding definitely is its own skill. The thing is, horses for poor commoners aren't really a thing. If you've got anything, you've probably got a draft horse, which is pulling a cart, and you probably wouldn't be riding it, right? You'd be hooking it up to a plow, you'd be hooking it up to a cart or something like that. So riding is probably going to join the list on my skill list here as a red one. Red just means they're not assigned to any of the rural careers in Pitchfork, but will be used in future supplements. Maybe. The skills. So we'll change this one as well. And down here I'm going to make it red too. And by the way, I might be getting rid of sorcery completely. I haven't really talked about that yet. What was I going to do here? Format. Hold on. Oh, it's a highlight, isn't it? That's why. There we go. Ballistics. Why are you swimming should not be. Odd. All right, back to careers then. So, yeah, haggle was one I wanted to talk around, or I was thinking about. That makes more sense for the artisan as well, rather than manipulation. Might, because they're often doing things that require a lot of kind of physical labor. Sleight of hand, because they have to be good at doing small detailed things as well. So sleight of hand is also like dexterity. I did have a think about calling it dexterity instead of sleight of hand. I might end up doing that. I had acrobatics, it's now changed to agility. So having agility and dexterity as separate skills kind of makes them a little bit like attributes. I've got might in here as well, which is kind of like a strength sort of skill attribute. So yeah. What's wrong with the haggle, Attila? The name, or actually having it as a skill. Because I do actually want negotiation, so I do want haggling and trade and bartering to be a big part of the economy in this game. Because coin is going to be something that is going to be very hard for commoners to actually get hold of. So actually having a skill handle haggling, to me, makes a lot of sense. It's something I'm kind of interested in pursuing. So we'll see how it goes. I'll put something in here for it. It'll be in the equipment section anyway. And in fact, I need to add it to this bit too before I forget. So I actually need to stick another... One other thing I did is I actually have another skill here called hunting. Hunting and wilderness. Okay. I get it. So haggling. Well, the idea here is that if you're an artisan, you are actually selling. You have to divorce the idea of a carpenter in today's world with a carpenter back in the medieval times, where they would be negotiating their pay and what, like, if they're doing some work, how are they being recompensed for that. Arguably anyone could haggle anything, like any job they're doing, but I think for people like the people that are creating things for other people, they're the ones selling them usually as well, at least in a village situation. Carpenter, not so much. I can see carpenter being somebody who's helping to put up buildings and stuff like that. So, yeah. So here's the issue, right? If I go down to my whoa, where is it? Where's my career section? Here it is. It makes sense for a brewer. It makes sense for a miller. It makes sense for a potter and a smith. It doesn't make as much sense for a carpenter or a stonecutter, right? So I take that point, definitely. Take manipulation off here. But in fact, what I could do is I could say haggle or and do something else. So you could either choose. It could be haggle or what's something else. So what would a carpenter be good at from this list? And a stone cutter. I'll go with gossip. You can just basically choose haggle or gossip. Because gossip didn't really... gossip's got a few, but... I kind of want a social element to it, basically. I'm only doing an or in this one. This is something that Wolfrup does for a lot of their careers, is it gives you an option. I'm not going to do this for everyone. I'm only doing it for an artisan because there are so many different varieties you could come up with. But yeah. So I wanted to add haggle in there. Let me just go back. Whoop. Next section down. There we go. The skills. Yeah, awareness is hard because I kind of could give awareness to everything on here. Like a boat. I've called it boat pilot. I'm trying to avoid terms that have man in them, which kind of is. I did originally have boatman like this, boatman and a boat frau, which gives it that sort of Germanic flavor. I've got a kennel page and a kennel maid. The midwife healer, midwife, the term wife assumes a kind of female occupation. But it's basically the person who's the sawbones in the village. They were typically, this was a sort of role that was kind of carried out by the midwives as well. They were kind of general healers in a lot of villages. But I could change it to something else. So anyway, I might stick with the boatman frau because I kind of like that. And I went for the term boater. Boater is an actual older English term for somebody who pilots a boat. Boat pilot just doesn't sounds like a compound word that I've invented. It doesn't really strike a lot of confidence in my own head. But yeah, anyway, I'll stick with that for now. The other yeah. Anyway. Oh, okay. Says I'm live. People having a lot of connection issues. Woo! Trippy. Anyway, So. I've spent about 10 minutes just kind of blathering a little bit here. Blather, by the way, good skill, which I haven't put in. Traits. This is the big thing I've been struggling with. I've tried sticking these in for every single career that I've got. 4 traits for each. As you can see, all of them have rural. That's kind of deliberate. There will be career traits in future supplements. The next one is going to be an urban supplement. They'll all be urban rather than rural. Some of them, like an artisan, would be rural or urban, so they can kind of swap over fairly easily between the two. But I'm kind of getting stuck on a few here. And just a reminder for how this works. Basically, when you want to do some advance your career. So this is this one here. Sorry, learn a new career. So you want to go from one career to another. You look at your career tags. I've got tags here. I'll put traits down here. Oh, no, tags. So I've just put traits here for some reason. Right. And the idea is for every... So it costs 6 XP to go to a new... to gain access to a new career. But for every tag that is shared between your current and your new one, you can decrease the cost by 1. And that... yeah, okay. For example, Charlotte is playing a woodcutter, which has the tags rural, wilderness, forest, and menial. Is that true? Nope. I'll put wilderness in there. I don't know what the last one's going to be. Maybe I'll stick for wilderness in as well. It kind of seems a little bit... got a lot of wilderness ones. 9, one of them is at the tag here, so I've got 8 wilderness tags. Anyway, he's playing a woodcutter, which has the tags rural, wilderness, forest, menial, and wants to take minstrel as a new career, which has the tags... Ooh, and the minstrel has new tags, in fact. Minstrel. Rural or urban travel entertainment. Rural, urban... travel, entertainment. I kind of wanted to change this, actually. Entertainment, yeah. I wanted to add social in there as well, because this is definitely a social one. And minstrels don't feel right to just have as rural or urban. They need to be both, kind of. But I can take travel out, and I can put instead social. Because these careers share 2 tags... In fact, they only share 1 tag. Rural. The cost of taking minstrel as a new career will cost 5 XP instead of the full 6 XP. There we go. So if that kind of makes sense, it basically means if you're an artisan, which has these ones here, and you're going to become a boatman. Because the boatman shares rural and urban and menial, those are 3 shared tags, you could deduct 3 from the cost. So instead of it costing 6 XP, it would cost only 3 XP. I don't know about these numbers yet. I could be lowering them. And in fact, it might make sense to just lower the cost, the base cost a little bit, so that it starts at 5. That means if all 4 of these career tags are the same, which at the moment there aren't any that are identical, then you would only have to pay a single XP. At the moment it would be 2. But it's kind of okay as well, because learning a new career should be a little bit, even if it's very, very closely related. I think 2 XP as the base is okay. But yeah, so I basically need to come up with some new tags for all of these. And this is the issue I've got. I kind of wanted to get some feedback from people here. Fisher. So this would be somebody who fishes for a living, catches fish for a living. I've got water folk as a tag. They're rural, and they're hunter. They hunt. They're hunting fish. What's a fourth tag I could use? Any thoughts? Likewise, a fowler. A fowler is a hunter who catches birds. They're used to the wilderness, so that's where they're working. They're hunters, and they're definitely rural. Another one I'm trying to come up with is the herder, like a shepherd. Rural for sure. Wilderness, not necessarily forest, because I've got forestry as a separate one. But definitely wilderness, because they're out in the wild all the time. And husbandry meaning animal husbandry, so they're used to taking care of animals. I'm just trying to think of another one. So there's the other one. So one thing I did think of was caregiving, which is, or caregiver, caregiving. It's a kind of a terrible word. Caregiver was a better one. I might just call this healing. See, what I'm trying to avoid the names of skills in the tags. I kind of like giving these tags like noun names, where it's like descriptors of a, not necessarily profession, but like forestry could be forester, menial could be laborer, despised could be pariah or outsider, athletics could be athlete, that sort of thing. Yeah, but trapper, like, these are, the thing with the tags is they have to be generic enough that they're going to apply to other careers as well. And trappers are almost a little bit too specific, I think. I mean, looking at this list, I don't see anyone else that would have trapper as a tag. And I can't think of many. Maybe a rat catcher. A rat catcher would theoretically also have a trapper tag because they'd be trapping rats. Yeah. Put it in for now. We'll put it in for now. Hunting and trapping. Yeah. Also because hunting and trapping are kind of related to each other. Trapping is a form of hunting. When you're catching, hunting is capturing animals. And arguably fishing is also about trapping fish. Or hunting them, I don't know. Fishing. Yeah, fishing is a harder one. Yeah, I've got water folk. That just basically means you're used to being on the water as a career, right? So we've also got the boatman also has water folk. Or water, I've just put. I don't want to kind of make it specifically about a boat necessarily. Kind of trying to keep these generic. Come back to Fisher. Herder, shepherd. So one thing I thought about with a shepherd is, yeah, well, swimming is an actual skill. So swimming is kind of assumed in, leech. I haven't got water for that one. They definitely need water, so I'm going to put that in there with water instead of despised. This despised one I'm not so sure about, so I'm going to actually take these off. There's something to be said for like endurance based, so people who are tougher than normal. And that kind of is covered by menial, and menial is, by the way, in a lot as well here. 9, 8. 8 out of 18 careers have a menial tag, which is a lot. They all have a rural tag, and something like 8 have a wilderness tag as well. So if you want to pick a wilderness and menial together, what have we got here? Not many actually. 1, 2. Okay, the woodcutter and the leech collector are wilderness and menial. Huh. Forestry and menial is a different one. Charcoal burner. Right, so I've deleted despise, which means charcoal burner now also needs a fourth trait. I kind of like it though. I kind of like it. So I'm gonna put here outsider. I'm gonna put that back in and call that, and put that also on the vagabond as well, for now, because I can think of other. There's gonna be some like untouchable sort of caste-based ones in the urban supplement, which are the gong farmer. Anyway, people like that who. So, you know, most people want nothing to do with. Lime burner is another one. So these are kind of people that most people, even other commoners, are kind of not wanting much to do with them. And I like the idea that swapping between these kind of low caste, if you want to use that term, careers means that it's easier to do because you're kind of sticking around that sort of region. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Leech collector really needs that though, and I don't think if you're a leech collector, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to have a water-based thing. Swimming, fine, but they shouldn't be able to become a boatman just because they've been a leech collector, because they didn't really not a lot to do with boats necessarily. Oh, potentially. Maybe we'll take menial out and put water there instead. Because there's not a lot of like heavy lifting with leech collectors. It's just about letting the leeches stick to your legs. Yeah, herder and outsider could work. That's true. That's true, because they're spending a lot of time with animals. They're not spending a lot of time with... The implication here is that they're more like pariahs, like social pariahs. Maybe outsider's not a great one. Maybe pariah is a better one to put in there. Whereas outsider makes you think like it's just not spending a lot of time around people, and that's not necessarily the case. This is more like they're scorned, and they're kind of treated differently. And that's not really the case with shepherds or herders generally. Fisher and herder then. So one tag I've got is trade, right? I've got trade on an artisan, I've got trade on the peddler, and I've got trade on the midwife healer. So these are people who are offering services for money or for barter or whatever. And I guess you could kind of make it... see, the fisher, it's the same with the fisher as with the fowler. I mean, a lot of these people are doing trade. Trade is like the main one. Yeah, but I don't want to kind of do the focus too much on the outsider element for the herder. I think there's something better I can use there. Yeah. Yep, travel's a good one. I've got travel already with the vagabond. Hey, there we go. Vagabond, the minstrel, and the peddler. So we can put traveler down. Travel here. All right, we're getting there. Oh. Okay, farmer, fisher then. The fisher's the last one. The fisher's the last one I need to stick something on. So I've got water, which kind of covers everything to do with swimming, boating, that sort of thing. Being used to being on the water. Or it's a career that has something to do with the water. Hunting, because they're actually hunting prey. Trade for the fisher. This is the thing, is like, why is it trade on a fisher but not on the fowler, which is basically hunting birds, or the herbalist who's going to be selling herbs and potions and things to people. In fact, alchemy I didn't really like too much. I've got it on the midwife healer as well. I think I might change that from alchemy to trade. I don't know. I kind of like alchemy because I think I'm going to come up with an apothecary in the urban supplement, and it should be possible for a herbalist to go to an apothecary, and the link there is the alchemy, is the knowledge of. I'm using alchemy not in a magical way, but as in more of a old-fashioned chemistry way, right? Yeah, they do often have their own shops, I'm aware, and they are going to be probably selling fish to a lot of people. Yeah, I know it is a stretch, but I'm struggling, so it might make sense for now. That's a good point. I'm just trying to just scratching my brain to think if there's just something better, and I also can't kind of come up with anything. So go trade. Right. I'm gonna now rename all these. Trader, labor, waterfolk, labor, pariah, labor, forester. I could probably do a search and replace. Hunting with hunter. And not all of them because I got hunting up here, so we're gonna go with find, replace, skip that one, replace, cool. Then we're gonna go with athletics. No, I'm just gonna, there's only one here, that's athletics. This is also a stretch, there's nothing else in here that's an athlete. This is specifically the climber, which is somebody who climbs cliffs to look for birds and eggs. And I'm just thinking there might be some more athletics-based ones in future supplements. So for now, I'm kind of okay with that. That was a hard one for me to come up with as well. The climber, the climber. So wilderness. What am I going to call wilderness? Wild folk. What do you call people from the wilderness? Hit me. Animal handler. Animal handler. Find. Watcher. Whoa! Don't go to a different tab. Wood dweller. Nah, doesn't have the right ring to it. Water folk. I guess wild. And it's not just wood because I've got forest. I've got forest people here. Forester, which also isn't quite the right word. Trade. We're gonna change trade to trader. Just a sheet. Whoops. Alchemy. Caregiver. Alchemist, animal handler, travel. Service. Service becomes servant. Trader, caregiving, and we're caregiving again. Menial. I'm going to change all the menial to labor. Cool. Underground is the miner. Underground would be troglodyte. cave dweller. Caveman. There's a lot of implications with the name, but it is really a person living in a cave. Whoa, oops. Or an animal living underground. I kind of like it. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go troglodyte as a instead of underground. So a miner is a troglodyte. Okay. Rural and urban I know aren't names of like careers, but they work alright. Forester. Yeah, okay. The wilderness is actually not about woods specifically. It's not about forests. It's about the wild space. Because you could create a village which has nothing to do with forests. It could be on a coast with rolling plains, with hills. It could be in the mountains. It could be in a desert. So, obviously, certain careers would, like woodcutter, wouldn't really have anything to do with a desert theme. Nor would a charcoal burner. So it's kind of something to bear in mind, actually, that some of these are very specific to assuming that there are trees nearby. Or water, that sort of thing. Bodies of water, in the case of a boatman or boatfrau. Forester, though, I like the term. Ooh, woods folk. So we're going to change that one. I'm thinking about 2 of those. Huh? It's right there. Forest tree. Alright. Entertainer. Social. Traveler, trader, servant, laborer, pariah, traveler, wilderness, woodsfolk, laborer, social. So a new one for wilderness and a new one for yeah. What am I going to call social? Socialite? It's not really, though. A scullion? A scullion is somebody who washes dishes in a manor house. So the idea here is that they're, they like to gossip and that sort of thing. They're used to, like, talking with people all the time. So what do you call somebody who's used to interacting with people all the time? Yeah, but not the... Gossip and chatty are not what I'm going for here. I guess you could call somebody a gossip. You could call a person a gossip. So yeah, that's right. We're just yep. More there's like a little bit of a lag. I think like a 10-second lag. Gossip works, and that works for both the scullion and the peddler. And I'm done. Yay! Where are we at? Half an hour to go still until I'm. So I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna move this off as a separate separate window. I'm going to move it to my other screen here, and then I'm going to start populating these into the career section here. So one at a time, I'm going to go through and just check that they're all working. Okay, so we've got... Oh, what happened here? I had this... Oh, it's there, the ore, right. Rural, urban, trader... Laborer. Rural, urban, waterfolk, laborer. Charcoal burner. Rural. I've still got wilderness. I need to change wilderness. What am I going to do with wilderness? Mountain man. Wilderness dweller. Hinterlander. I've never heard this term before. A ridge runner. Backcountry. Interesting. Highlander specifically implies something else, though. And again, this is basically somebody who's just good in the wilderness, right? Although charcoal burner. Okay, right. I'm gonna go with Hinterlander. No, I really don't like Hinterlander. Yeah, all right. Why not? Hinterlander. It sounds too German to me. But I guess that's a good thing with this game. Hinterlander. Wilderness. Wilderness. Alright. Let's go. Wilderness. Change that to Hinterlander. Find. Replace. 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 Skip that one. Replace. Right. Alright, here we go. Hinterlander, Woodsfolk, Laborer. Yep, it is. 75% apparently, German. Klimmer, Hinterlander, Hunter, and Athlete. Farmer, rural, agriculture is one I've passed up. Agriculture. What's a word for agriculture? It's a farmer, isn't it? Producer, grower, agriculturalist. Harvester. I like harvester. Kind of what I'm getting at here is that somebody. Now here's the thing, right? Agriculture makes sense as a tag, but at the same time, I can't think of another one that would have it. Yeah, homesteader. Go with peasant. That's tempting. I think I'm gonna go with peasant, and I can actually put peasant with I can put peasant with a herder as well, because going from a shepherd to a farmer should be pretty straightforward. Peasant it is. Peasant to peasant. I mean, it's kind of rural. Rural. Oh. Ugh. Fuck it. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, homesteader definitely has an American vibe to it. Gardener, Attila, I'm not super keen on. Because there's a little bit more, I think. But do I want to go peasant? And then herder, take traveler off herder, put peasant on instead. And what does the word peasant just means a lot of things to different people. I know it's really like a rural commoner. Small farmers or farm laborers. So specifically do with farm. Okay. Well, that kind of works, I guess. A farm laborer. So who else can I give that tag to? Peasant! Animal handler. Laborer. And that, I kind of like that, actually. I kind of like that you can move from a farmer to a herder fairly easily because they share a lot. The herder replaces laborer with hinterlander. That makes sense to me as well. So I kind of like that. So who else could be a peasant then? I'll take this off and say peasant. Who else could be a peasant? Who's a farm laborer on this list? Maybe a charcoal burner. Meh, I'm gonna leave it. Just those two for now, for peasant. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Plebs, as in plebeians, as in well, another word for commoner. Does that kind of? Yeah, miners are definitely peasants as well. Miner, I kind of like what I've got there with them though. Hinterlander was a little bit of a stretch, so maybe I could go peasant on miner instead. Peasant, troglodyte. Yeah, we're doing it. Peasant, troglodyte, laborer. Okay, that works. Yeah, plebeian to me is a bit more, does sound a little bit more urban, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know if I want to put pleb or plebeian in for the kind of peasant, because I think when we get to the urban one, there's going to be plenty of tags because cities are full of shit going down, and I really don't see there be a problem coming up with tags there. It was the kind of having a little bit of variety here for these ones that I was kind of struggling to come up with. And not going too specific, because I could come up with specific ones where it's like they would never share a tag with somebody else, and it's trying to get at least one or two where they, at least shared a tag with one other career. And only in a few instances where I left it where they didn't share one because I knew they would be in future supplements. Like the minstrel has an entertainer tag, nobody else has that, and that's okay because there'll be other entertainers in the urban one for sure. Trapper next to Fowler, I'm not actually 100% sure I like that one. Because I'm trying to think who would get a Trapper. Oh, the Rat Catcher. So that kind of works, right? As examples. Yeah. What I haven't put in there, I haven't put Rogue in. So like Rogue, I'm not going to have a career called Rogue, but there will be a Rogue career tag. And that's going to be all over the... Well, I don't know, because this is the interesting thing, because I'm also going to be doing a criminal expansion. So it's going to be rural, urban, criminal, mercenary. And that criminal one's going to be full of rogues, potentially. Like half of them are going to be rogues. Anyway. You mentioned almost having the first RPG with plebs, right? I actually created created a game called, or I created an engine called the Plebeian Engine. You can see here, plebeians. I'll just show this to you. Plebeians version 1.1, a rules light role-playing game system by Matt Kay. And I did actually, Runners is a setting I ran. Anyway, like all the rules fit on one page. It's a little mini game I created. When did I create that thing? Let's have a look. 2018, April 2018. So just before I started the Mud and Blood podcast. Yeah, so more than 2 years ago now. There's actually this other game. I'm kind of going down a sidetrack here. But Runners. So actually, it was gonna have this like Hammers game I called here. I went from calling it Peasants to Hammers. It's got like my Warhammer hack. This is one of the previous versions of it, which is basically what we're looking at now. So this was like a cover I'd come up with, a cover idea I'd come up with. But anyway, so plebeians is I'm very much aware of the word. I was gonna call the entire game or game system based around it that. But anyway, here we are. Where was I? Climmer. Just finished Climmer. Farmer. I think I've finished Farmer, actually. Animal handler and labor. Peasant. Yeah. Okay, Fisher. Rural. Waterfolk. Hunter and trader. Fowler is a rural hunter... Hinterlander, Trapper. It does bother me that they're not in alphabetical order, but someone will pick up on it in the playtest, I'm sure. Herbalist. Rural, Hinterlander, Alchemist, caregiver. I don't know if anybody noticed, but in my list of skills here, there is no longer a hedgewise, which was the only magical career on the list. That's because I've stripped magic out again. Possibly permanently, possibly not. Might be going back in. Yeah. Yep. You all need help. I can only say that because I do it. I'm exactly the same. And I'm just, the only reason, you know what I will do is when I'm not streaming, I'm going to go and correct all the, in fact, I'll start with herder so I don't have to do more later. I wanted to keep rural as the first one for reasons of it being, everything being rural based. And then it made me think like, well, if the first one's rural, then do I really need to have the other ones be alphabetical as well? And the answer is absolutely. They definitely should be. Herder. Animal handler. Hinterlander. Where was I? Herder, animal handler, peasant, rural. There we go. Kennel page is an animal handler. Oh, look at this. I don't know, different. Animal handler, caregiver, rural, and servant. Leech collector is hinterlander, pariah, rural, and waterfolk. Yeah, I could see that. I could see them being charlatans for sure. Midwife, healer, alchemist. Oh, this is the thing is like I've got a herbalist. I can't really think of a way of including them other than they're a herbalist who is basically pretending to be like a you know, having these like magical cures which actually aren't. And I kind of like that better. It makes it a little bit more mundane, and I wanted to keep this mundane. So magic is out. All right, Attila. Thanks for coming and chatting. Have a good night. Alchemist, caregiver. Rural, trader. Miner, laborer. Peasant. Rural. Troglodyte. I need more. Oh, troglodytes. I might have possibly sewer jacks. Sewers aren't really a medieval thing, but it's Warhammer. Maybe a Ratcatcher could be a troglodyte because they're going to be like poking around in basements and cellars and stuff like that. I'm just trying to think what else would have the like underground or the troglodyte thing. I guess I could have sappers, the mercenary thing as well, and maybe there's some people who spend a lot of time underground in kind of criminal enterprise. So yeah, I guess that's good enough. Minstrel, entertainer, rural, traveler, urban, peddler, gossip, trader, rural, trader, traveler, scullion. I'm actually not sure about the scullion, but we'll leave it. Gossip, laborer, rural, servant, vagabond, hinterlander, pariah, rural, traveler, Just thinking about that traveler tag. That's fine. That's fine. Woodcutter. Last one. Hinterlander. Laborer. Rural. Woodsfolk. Lovely jubbly. Alright. So, the next thing to think about, I need to double check my skills because I think some of the skills might have changed. Artisan, for example, I've already done that one. But I've added Haggle. I didn't change that for the Peddler, did I? Got rid of writing. Yeah, I've done them all. Just wanted to make sure that small changes I've done to my skills matrix here I've followed through with. I don't think I changed any other ones. I took writing off and changed it for Haggle, so I've done that. And the artisan I changed as well. Oh, I've got 5 on the artisan now on my matrix. What have I got here? Oh, it's the ore. It's the ore. The haggle or the gossip. Right, that's why it has 5 on this. That's fine. I think I'm good. Right, let's see if there's anything else I can quickly do. So if we look at Charcoal Burner, which is one of the ones I've finished. So the next thing I've looked at is Asset. So for example, for a Charcoal Burner, they have a flint and steel, a hand axe, and a wheelbarrow. For a farmer, they'd have a loyal farm animal, a pitchfork, or sturdy leather boots. An artisan would have trade tools. I mean, they kind of need the trade tools. Oh man. Yeah, I think my brain's turned to mush. The thing with putting trade tools on there is that if you don't pick the trade tools, there's an assumption that you don't have trade tools, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. This is where, oh man, this is where it's kind of nice to have differences between brewers and, sorry, like carpenter and smith and stonecutter, which were the original ones I'd had, because when you get to things like their assets, I guess is the only thing. I might need to rethink asset here, because one thing I've been thinking about is the equipment section. And one thing I did talk about earlier in the game around character creation, I talk about trappings and talk about encumbrance. I talk about you starting the game with an asset, which is a piece of equipment that says something about who you are. You pick one from the careers you've got, or you come up with your own, and you basically give you two. It gives you 2 bonus dice. Whoa. And the idea being they work like things from the loop, or Tales from the Flood, which is they have something called a signature item, which is exactly the same concept. It gives you 2 bonus die. But I wonder if it should just be a bit of flavor. This kind of trappings, or it should be something that you get anyway. That seems a little bit more Warhammer to me. So rather than saying asset, it would be your trappings. This is what you get. Well, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that right now. So maybe with Control F, we're going to find asset. We're going to replace asset with trappings. So replace that one, replace that one, replace that one. Okay, trappings. You start the game with all of the trappings listed for your career. In addition, in addition to your trappings, roll or choose. Okay. Choose 2 pieces of equipment from 2 pieces of gear. Roll or choose 2 pieces of gear from the table below and record them under other gear on your character sheet. Encumbrance is not tracked in Pitchfork. Instead, it is left to common sense, and if the GM determines a character is encumbered, they can ask for a vitality test. If this test has failed, that character can no longer keep going with their heavy load and must either A, drop some items, B, stop where they are, or C, give some items to another character. Yep. I think this is going to be easier. For me to come up with 3... The way I had it with assets, I was trying to come up with 3 things that weren't necessarily too specific to do with your career, and therefore, yeah, would kind of add a bit of flavor. You picked one that would add flavor, but I think I can handle this in other ways, and I think just having the standard trappings that you take is more in line with how most of these games work. And I can provide, probably for every single one, I can provide one option where I'll say this or this, then you take these other things. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. So for example, artisan, it's going to say, I'm going to put here, choose a trade tool, put here hammer, axe, etc. Leather apron. I think most of those would have a leather apron. Armor rating a 1. Not sure a miller would have a leather apron, but we'll let them have one. This is where I'll probably dip into cheat a little bit and go with Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd edition and type in here artisan actually and see what they've got for their trappings. Oh god, can't do a search, can I? Trade tools and money. That's fucking boring, isn't it? What else they got in the picture there? Whoa, fucking hell. Alright, mediocre dad. Night. I'm gonna keep cracking on. Alright, let's look at some of the other ones. Tradesman is another trade here. No problem. I probably will as well. Now that I've just changed to going with trappings instead of assets, I can probably do that fairly quickly on my own. I think doing the assets would have taken a long time. What have they got here? They've got armor, a leather jerkin, and money. It's not a lot of talents, actually. It's interesting. Or trappings, I should say. Maybe I should just do 2. Ah, that's because I think in Warhammer, everybody starts with a certain number of base trappings. They start with like a dagger and certain clothes and a backpack, etc., etc. I think it's actually listed here at the start of the appendix. Right here. Generating characteristics, starting careers. You get this. You get common clothing, shirt, breeches, worn boots, tattered cloak, a dagger, a sling bag or a backpack containing a blanket, a wooden tankard, a wooden cutlery set, a hand weapon, and a purse. Yeah. So all this is in addition to all that. But I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, it seems a bit silly. So we'll stick with 2 for now, I think. So a boatman or a boatfrau would have raincoat. We call it an oiled coat, right? I think that's what it's called. Oilskin. Waterproof cloth garments were in use from the late 1700s. I'm just gonna call it a waxed, not oiled. Waxed raincoat. Now they're all gonna have fucking wide-brimmed hats. They got a waxed raincoat on a boat, men. And they're gonna have an oar, a boat hook, in fact. So it looks like I'm giving them a weapon and a bit of clothing. Rowboat. That's good. That's a good question. You can't be a boat. You can't be a boat person without a boat, right? So rowboat's going to be the first one. Rowboat, and then they can either have a boat hook or a waxed raincoat. Yeah, but is the boat hook is a tool, right? Maybe I'll do 3. Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think tool, clothing, and then another thing as well is fine. So trappings, for example, here, there could be a hand axe. Flint and steel is important as well. But I can do... A wheelbarrow is not so important. Flint and steel is really important, though, for them. Hand axe. What would a charcoal burner be wearing? When things explode, do you think they're gonna want a bit of thick clothing? I guess. Climmer. Climmer's going to have a long knife. Long knife, clothing with loops sewn in, and a rope and harness. No, I guess the harness would sort that out rather than the hoops in their clothing, the loops in their clothing. So their kind of clothing would you have? Clothing with lots of pockets. I want to keep it to leather apron's a good shout for the charcoal burner, actually. Yeah, leather apron. Not sure they would have a leather apron. I'm gonna stick with thick clothing. Armor rating of 1. Farmer. Pitchfork. Sturdy leather boots. Look, I've done this one already. If I... Yeah. Take care, mate. I'm going to keep going a little bit longer. I think farm animal. I want it to be a loyal farm pet. Fisher has a net. It's about galoshes. Yeah, see you Sunday, mate, if you're still there. Galoshes. When did they... Let's see the history of... Okay, rubber was much later than the medieval days. Move this back into... Alright. So, a fisher has a net. They have... Probably have a very wide-brimmed hat. And they will have a sack. Wide-brimmed hat is my other gear. I thought it was there. What else have I got? Pipe and tobacco, whittling knife, kettle, basket of a crop. Alright. What kind of clothes? What kind of clothing does a fisher have? I'm running out of steam here. Fowler was going to have a hunting bow or sling. I want to call it camo clothing. It's camouflage, but it's not. It's the wrong term. Clothing in wilderness colors, whatever kind of wilderness happens to be, and a bird whistle. Sickle, herb bag. So what kind of clothing, what clothing item would a herbalist have? Try and get this finished as quickly as possible. I think nobody's watching anymore. Just to try and get them down. A herder is going to have a crook or sling. Sturdy boots and usable instrument. Kennel page is going to have young but loyal hound. That's the equivalent of the small but vicious dog. Young but loyal hound. They're going to have a knife. They're going to have servant's livery. You have a young but loyal hound. Leech collector. Baggy clothing and What do they collect them in? A sack? Leech collector sack? A pail. Uh-huh. That makes a bit more sense. Into a canvas bag. Flail. Striking the water in the bog with great violence. Awesome! Flail. Baggy clothing. Because they're stripping them off. Very easy to come on and off. And a canvas bag. Alright. What was the sack I had earlier? Who had the sack? The fisher. This canvas sack. I'm just gonna call it a sack. Get rid of the word canvas in there. Midwife healer is going to have knives. They're gonna have D6 knives. 2d3 knives. So you have at least 2 up to 6. Yeah, 2, 4, 6 knives. Or we could say d3 plus 1. 2 to 4. That'll do. d3 plus 1 knives. Sturdy clothing. Medicine bag. Miner has a mining pick. Or we could call it a pickaxe, actually. Pickaxe. What did I call this clothing before? Thick clothing. It's actually quite warm underground. Tin helmet. And lantern. A minstrel. Gaudy clothing, of course. And musical instrument. What weapon would they have? This is the most posh of all of the of all of these. They're gonna have a dagger, I guess. Peddler or trappings, they're going to have a cart. Trade cart. They're going to have a staff. Clothing is going to be practical. No, they're gonna have boots. What weapon would a scullion have? They might actually be helping in the kitchen, so maybe they have a knife. They have a small knife. They have servant's livery. barb soap. Vagabond. They might not have straight leather boots, actually. We'll say that they have worn clothing. Definitely have a staff, worn clothing, and 2 extra gear from the gear table. I like that. They just got a lot of random shit on them, basically. Woodcutter has a 2-handed axe. They have leather gloves. And they have... This is my last one too, isn't it? Woo! 2-handed axe. Leather gloves. Oh, brain's not working. Let's look what they've got in here for woodcutter. Trapping wise. Anti-toxin kit. I guess they're out in the woods all the time. A rope. They have rope. A 2-handed axe, leather gloves, and a hand axe. They've got 2 weapons. That'll do for now. All right, that's gonna do me. I'm getting tired. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, then be aware that if you want to watch live in future, that I'm streaming on Twitch, not on YouTube. So if you head over to the Twitch channel, which is just down here, kind of over in that direction, Three Skulls Tavern. The link will also be in the description below. If you go to that Twitch channel and click on the follow button, that means that when I go live, you'll get an email alert alerting you to the fact. That goes for these dev diaries as well as any of the other shows that I produce. Anyway, that's me. So, yeah, if you got any questions, leave a comment down below, or again, hook up with me on social media. Again, down just below me here, you can see my Facebook, Twitter, and Discord links. Those will all take you to the various communities where I'm at to chat with me. Otherwise, yeah. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time. Bye-bye.